Welcome back to your Dawn of Drones podcast. I'm Dawn Zoldi, your host and the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting. We are kind of not quite in the middle of a month dedicated to this theme of innovation. We kicked it off last week with Lacey Ween from Caresoft, who's our month sponsor. If you missed that show, I highly commend you to go back and watch it. If you have any interest whatsoever in partnering with the government, federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, academia, other folks, I mean, they're the company to do it with. And Lacey had a lot to say, so absolutely check that out. But as we continue this theme of innovation, we have two incredible innovators with us today in the field of STEM education. We've got with us Eric Richard and Aaron Parker, co-founders of a really cool company called Argos Academy. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having us.
So I know a little bit about you. Some of our followers may also, if they happen to be in last week's Clubhouse with Maggie Schuster, which, by the way, was a great show also. So check that out on demand if you missed it. But why don't we have you guys just give a little bit about your backgrounds to kind of kick it off?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick it off. I started out right after high school. I joined the military as a maintainer. So I was a crew chief on C-130s. I did that during when I got my college degree, communications degree. And then from there, I went to, got picked up for active duty to go fly C-130s. So I became a full-fledged regular pilot. During that time, got Part 107, started getting interested in drones, and just took off from there.
I love it. So go ahead, Aaron.
So Air Force as well. So on the enlisted side, yep. And so my career field is something called a scientific applications specialist. Mostly focused on helping the Air Force solve, science and engineering oriented problems kind of across the force. And it's a really unique, interesting career field. But my interest in education got started when I was selected to go be an instructor for the career field. And that's when the education bug bit me, and I love teaching, and a lot of the technologies and everything that we were using in our classroom really fed into stuff that we're using for Argos Academy and kind of the design of what we're going for. And so that created a natural connection with Eric, and that's how we got started working together.
All right. Well, I just got to say, go Air Force, right? There's my shadow box back there. And, I got the education bug too bit me while I was teaching at the Air Force Academy a couple different times throughout my career. So super cool. By the way, we already have folks jumping in the chat. Adam Hoseman saying he loves you guys, and Joseph Dunphy is watching from New Jersey. Yo, Jersey, I'm a Philly girl. Part 107 focus on architectural and construction. So thanks, guys. Keep it coming. Everybody out there, we love the comments. Tell us where you're from. You might have questions for these guys too that they would love to answer. So make sure you're throwing those in the chat as we go here. So Aaron, I'm going to go back to you because you started a little bit about kind of how this experience you had in the Air Force teaching students kind of gave you a little bit of a, the bug bit you, I think you said, for education. But tell us a little bit about kind of drones, autonomy, robotics, because I know for you, it's not just drones, it's a much larger kind of scientific endeavor. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, I think one of the things that we're trying to tap into, not only with what we're doing, but, how that translates to, STEM education and rolling into workforce development, is looking at the heart of all of these technologies, is microcontrollers. And so how can we take, what we've seen a lot in how drones are being used in education, and kind of take it one step further to not, it's the underlying technology. Can you understand a little bit about how that underlying technology works? And if you can, if we can get you through that, that really empowers you in how you utilize that technology, how you innovate with that technology. And we're obviously going to talk about it a little bit more throughout the course of the podcast here. But that was one of the things that was a focus that we were trying to teach in our career field. It was actually pretty awesome, compared to most military training pipelines where it's one module right into the next, and we were trying to switch things up to turn it more into what you would see in like an engineering program, where not only are we teaching you about underlying sciences, physical sciences, electronics, computer science, but the actual application. And we were using microcontrollers to do that and letting the students pick projects to problems to solve. One of my favorites was a student that built a drone. They used our 3D printers, programmed the microcontroller, built a drone, and attached sonic systems to it to basically do a sonic 3D mapping of our schoolhouse.
Wow.
Right, and just the bug bites you when you see a student go from, I don't know anything about this technology or the sciences, to 6 months later, they've built an entire platform where you're just like, this is amazing. And you kind of get to help shepherd that process along. And so that's one of the things we're excited for with Argos, is to try and really expand the ability to do something like that for more kids especially at a younger age, because we think they're totally capable.
Well, and going to you, Eric, I know you and I met, 2 years ago at AVSI Exponential. I remember I was like walking out a door and you were maybe walking in, and we just kind of almost bumped into each other, and you started telling me your excitement for, education and teaching, and how it all kind of started for you with FPV, or first person view, racing drones. Share a little bit of that story. And that was kind of in the Air Force too, right?
Yeah, back then. So in 2018, I got to, well, it even goes back farther than that. So when I was going through pilot training, I needed something to blow off the steam, relieve stress, and my brother showed me a video of these racing drones, and I turned to him. I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. Like, I'm gonna do that. And at that time, like, everything was just on YouTube. You had to buy parts, like early computers, buying from multiple websites to pull it all and solder it together. And at that time, I was like, I was a 3.0 student. I was average. I was okay at math. I was okay at science. But after 80 hours of YouTube, I started kind of getting the hang of it. Started teaching myself all these basic skills, and I was like, this is fascinating. So that started me on the journey after I built my first racing drone. And it wasn't until 2018 that there was a STEM festival in Little Rock that I was put as deputy in charge of bringing drone racing to the event. And we processed about 100,000 kids over the course of 3 days. And the number one question I got was, can I try it? And the answer is always no, because these kits, these things were about $1,500 a piece. So I was like, I'm sorry, like you can watch it, but I mean, how do I started asking the question, how can I get these kids into it? How can I get them excited as I was? And so that really started the business in 2018 into 2019, was how do I make this accessible to everyone? So we started out with the curriculum, and that's when I ran into you, and I think it was 2020. We started talking, and I was like, hey, I got the curriculum written. Like, I'm trying to get traction. Where do I go? Who do I talk to? And from there, it's really developed, as we brought Aaron on board, as we continue to develop the platform, which is what we're starting with. And we'll talk about, where the curriculum comes in shortly. But yeah, that's where we got started.
Yeah, that's super. And I love how kind of your desire to make this accessible to so many people is really what sparked the idea for your company, because I think that's critical. And by the way, Kristen Hoseman is also out there saying super excited for the future of Argos. So keep it coming, guys and gals. So that's, I think, a great pivot though, because you did start with the platform. So let's talk about the Raven One. That is the new drone that you're bringing to market, and that's really exciting, super innovative. So tell us, I think we have an image of this. Tell us about the Raven One and walk us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes in the box, unbuilt. So this gives students the initial exposure they need to, here's how a drone goes together. Here's your basic components. So it comes in 10 pieces. All you need to use is a screwdriver. You can assemble it all. It's very, very intuitive. It does come with instructions, but I'm sure most students can figure out, how it works. It comes open architecture, so it really is like what Aaron was talking about, a platform that you can build upon. So you can add modules to it. You can code it, so it's compatible with C++ or Pluto blocks, which is block coding. You can practice anywhere. It can be indoor use. It can be outdoor, preferably indoor because it doesn't tolerate wind too well. Has the guarded props. It has a decent flight time. And it's got internal charging, so you don't have to worry about that. So it's really a easy to use learning platform that you can build, like I said, build upon, but everything you need is right there. It's all in one kit. It's very affordable. It's accessible to just about anybody.
10 pieces and a screwdriver sounds like something I can handle, honestly. So besides the kind of the simplicity of it, as you described it, what else about that Raven one makes it different from maybe some other things that we're seeing in the education space?
Yeah, so we want to bring everything into the company. We want to create an entire ecosystem. So we'll have a simulator, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. We have an app that used to control it. We have the drone. We'll have the lesson plans available online. We want to create everything in-house. So as we start collecting feedback from the users, like, hey, this needs to change, we control every part of that process, and we can make it better and even easier than it already is. So yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, and then the other part, one of the big things that we've seen talking to educators about, what are some of the issues and frustrations with things that are currently on the market? The ability to fix it yourself at a low cost. If something breaks on some of these platforms, you're out the whole platform. You just need to buy a whole new drone, right? So what is it? You're waiting on fulfillment and all this other kind of stuff, and that stops the show in the classroom. And so we don't want that. So this is completely repairable. Not only that, but because it's the students who build it, building that spatial awareness as they're starting to build it, so that they understand, diagnostically if things are going wrong, maybe being able to troubleshoot and trace where the issue is, but then to go through the experience of, okay, and now, so I'm going to need this part, I'm going to need to take it apart this way, bring the new part back in and start testing it and getting it up and running. Now that becomes a part of the learning experience versus what it normally is when you can't repair it. It's like, well, let me just go get another drone out of another box and all the bills that come with that.
Right.
That's one of the things we're really excited for here is the ability in the classroom. You can fix it on the spot with ease, and it informs the learning experience.
Well, and Maggie asked you this question. I'm going to reiterate it because I think it was an excellent one. I mean, we've seen legislation in Florida pop up. We've seen, some challenges with grant money for Chinese made drones in particular. Can you explain kind of where you're getting the different components of the Raven one so people can understand, how blue or green or whatever color we're going to call it, how blue, green the Raven is?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a big consideration when we started looking. We're kind of familiar with that process. We kind of see where the thing's going, and we want to offer an opportunity for schools that are restricted, like especially ones that are on government facilities, that hits close to home for us. So we looked in India. We found a company out there that was already manufacturing something like this. So we reached out and we're like, hey, can we make a couple changes for the United States market, US and Canada? We got an agreement with them. And so everything's coming in from them. And the only thing that they import from China is the motors and the batteries. So it's we're going to start working towards certification here probably in the coming months.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Wow. And, who's your target market for this Raven one?
We're targeting 5th grade to high school, but there's also conversations of getting into colleges, especially really good intro, like engineering program, aerospace engineering. We're going to start talking with them and developing lessons for at that level as well. But it's also targeting after school programs, church groups, Boy Scouts, clubs. It's really anybody that's interested in getting into the space.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah. Just to build on that, I mean, I think one of the things that we've seen is that no matter where you go, right, whether it's the military that's trying to teach defenders, right, how to use drones to, patrol perimeters or to go into, unstable environments, that kind of thing, or it's in your everyday, classroom. is that the barriers to entry are often cost. And it's not just the cost of the drone, but it's the risk of what happens if I put this in the hands of a student and something goes wrong. And so you have that, like when Eric was at the air show, right? Hey, I can't let you touch this because if it breaks, we're out that investment. And so that's one of the things we're really excited about trying to bring this in at a lower cost, is that our initial focus is definitely for the education content, that 5th grade through high school. But the applicability in other markets or other segments of the drone market is pretty high when you're just looking at, hey, I need to introduce someone in a low risk way to this technology. So that's one of the things we're really interested in expanding into.
It's a commonality with every program out there. Everybody's got to start somewhere. So where do you start? Do you start with a $2,000 drone, or do you start with, something under $200? Everybody starts. And so it's like, if you can create a basic platform that, again, teaches you the components, teaches you, how to fix it, everything that's basically involved with the larger drones, it's just kind of a logical conclusion to start here.
Yeah, I remember in Clubhouse, Peter Schmidt from Transcend Air was talking about the need for I think he said 400,000 mechanics for, advanced aviation in the future, and how short we're going to fall of that if we don't start inspiring the younger generation to want to get into aviation, whether it's as a maintainer or as a pilot or as a scientific, engineer, something like this. So really great what you're doing. What is the timeline for release? I see it's on your website. I think it's available. Is it available right now for purchase?
It's available for pre-order right now.
Pre-order.
Starting to get names, and then it will ship no later than August 11th. So we're getting everything. The app will be live. The drones will be available, and we'll do just start sending them out the door.
Wow. Okay. So is it on your website? I should have asked you this before. I'm just going to lob it out there because we keep talking about cost. Are you comfortable talking about that? Because it seems to be kind of a big part of your vision for your company and what you're trying to achieve. How much does one of these things run for, a school to be able to afford a whole bunch of them for their students?
So the cost of the drone, and Eric, we've got.
Oh yeah, show and tell. Oh my gosh, it's so tiny. Okay.
So the cost of this drone is $179.99, and we'll have all of the supporting replaceable parts and everything available as well.
Batteries too.
Yeah, so out of the box, this is going to come with 2 batteries.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Extra props.
It's got the prop tool, screwdriver, 2 batteries. Yeah, the extra props, and then the basic frame, the cover, and the camera module.
But the really cool part is, right, so that's for the hardware.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talk about, with teachers and levels of investment that correlate to levels of risk, is trying to make it so that even without actually buying the hardware, you can get some educational content in kids' hands and get them practicing and flying and learning some of the skills with that. And so that's where the app comes in. And the app's free.
Tell us about the app.
Yeah, and so really that's the cool part, is that's really where it starts, is in the app, and we're slowly building it out. But right now it's going to have the simulator in it. Yep. So it's going to have the simulator in it, so that you can already start kind of getting a feel for what flying a drone actually is like. It's got some cool things in it, so it'll track your previous race runs, and so you can race yourself and kind of compare your performance to yourself, and tracking your flight times and whatnot. And so that's the cool part, is you can already start getting this in kids' hands, right? Most kids these days, at almost all ages it seems, have a smartphone, so it'll be available to them. But then that's also going to connect to some of the educational content, so you can see, okay, so if you were to get into the hardware, this is how these things will translate. So that's really the initial entry. which is free, which we like, right?
No, well, let me ask about that. Let me ask about that. So if I went on your website like right now, would I have to like subscribe, if you will, to get access to the free app, or do I download it from your website, or from like, I have a iPhone, so from the App Store, like where do I get it? And how do I access it?
So we're still, right, as we're preparing for release and everything, ironing out some kinks. So the app is not available just yet.
Okay.
But absolutely, you can go on the website and subscribe for notifications. We are actually having a promotion on there where, so the first 5 folks that subscribe for a notification will get a free drone.
But let me correct that. First 5 that offer us feedback. So after we release the drone, we're going to have a feedback form on there. We're looking for feedback from the customers. So the first 5 that fill it out completely, send it back to us, we'll reimburse you for the cost of the drone. And then the next 100 that fill out the feedback, we'll give them a $15 Target or Starbucks gift card. Because again, the part of this is we want to, and we'll talk about partnerships, but we want to partner with the user, and we want to bring them in, and we want to hear what you have to say, and we want to be better using that feedback.
All right. Well, maybe Kristen Hoseman might be one of your first one. Because she's saying just pre-ordered, easy purchase experience on your website. So really, so when the app does launch with this simulator, is that going to be on the App Store, or again, like how will I find that?
Yeah, so it'll be available on both Android and iPhone. And yeah, please sign up for the notifications so that we can send out as soon as that's live on the market, or both app stores. Yeah, should be a pretty easy experience after that.
Because the app will be required to fly the drone, so we can't ship the drone until the app's live. So, but yeah, with students, kind of what we envision is part of this program. If educators maybe don't have the money to buy 10 drones or 5 drones or whatnot, they can start simply by asking the students to, hey, go download the app, no charge, take it home as homework. You can practice on the flight simulator, spend 30 minutes a night, 15 minutes a night, get comfortable with the controls. And either they can, take the program farther and buy the drones later. So then the students would come to school with their phones connected to the drone, and they'd be off. They'd be ready to go with already that familiarity with the controls. Or maybe the program stops there, and you can still practice a lot of the challenges in our lesson plans that in the sim itself. So it's a gymnasium setting. You just take out all the obstacles and you practice everything right there. So it allows educators to come in at the price point they feel comfortable.
Well, and it makes it exciting. How boring is it for a child? First of all, don't even get me started on our education system, but to sit there for like 8 hours, right, in a chair, listening to, a teacher drone on, write some stuff on a chalkboard or whiteboard or whatever, sometimes there's still online things happening, but it's when you get out there and you actually get your hands on stuff that I find is so exciting. I remember my son, when he was in grade school, he had a former Navy guy as a science teacher. And this guy had a connection with one of those maritime, like robotics companies, where they build a little underwater robot that, has the tether, and they just kind of do it in the pool. And they did this whole day where they went out there, they built them all. That took a while. And then they, kind of, had this competition. And I tell the excitement, in those kids, and just the fact that they created these robots and they were racing each other, I think just really takes it to a whole new level. So I love what you're doing. And not only that, but you're building, okay, so you've got the Raven one, or, coming out in August. The app will, kind of precede that or launch right around the same time, but you're creating this entire ecosystem. So tell us about the rest of it, because there's so much more.
Yeah. So again, we were talking a little bit before about, some of the education that we were doing in my career field, and really trying to hammer home that, a lot of these modern technologies leverage the power of microcontrollers.
Yep.
And so that's what we've put at the heart of our ecosystem. It's a programmable modularized microcontroller that's attached to a flight controller. And so, to start, you get the app and you can do things like the sim and whatnot. But as you advance down the pipeline and you actually start getting into the hardware, what we really see the drone as is a way to introduce you to the overall technology of microcontrollers and how they work, how you can program it. You can change the performance characteristics of this drone vehicle. But over time, and something that we're really excited about, is offering the technology, other kinds of sensors, other types of attachments, or certain classrooms you'd be able to build your own 3D printing and whatnot, and turn it into other kinds of vehicles or other kinds of whatever technology it is that you're trying to build. And what we're really eager to see is when we get to the point where, I would love to see, designing challenges, competitions and whatnot, where a team has built a drone that has to interact with some sort of ground vehicle, and they've programmed both to get after some sort of objective, and seeing all of that kind of culminate together. And they programmed it all and they built it all. And so that's really our ecosystem. At the heart of it is this microcontroller. We also have this controller that is designed to interface directly with that flight controller, and we can talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But it's programmable as well, so you can change what its functions do. That'll be coming out shortly after the Raven 1 and the app release. We don't have time on that just yet, but
I was going to say no time like the present. So tell us a little bit about it. We've got the image of it up.
So like you said before, completely programmable. It comes disassembled just like the drone does. So the student will have to put the couple microchips together, the the thumbsticks together, and then it's got that awesome clear faceplate on top. So it's kind of like the early computers or like modern gaming computers. You can see inside, you can see it operate. Again, it's all electrons, but it looks cool.
Wait a minute, hold on. I got a kid that does that. I got two that built their own computers. Where's the cool LED lights that change colors, my friend? Because
well, it's got the little blue LED screen.
There you go. Okay, it's that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the programmable switches. So depending on the module that's on your drone or what your vehicle, what you're asking it to do, you can program those switches to trigger that. But yeah, it connects to the drone via Wi-Fi. So it'll connect directly to the drone. The drone actually operates on Wi-Fi frequencies, so you can operate up to 100 in a space if you want to. Don't recommend it for classroom management for those teachers there, but it is possible.
Talk about a drone swarm, right? Like
yes. You might want to get a protective net.
Have
100 flying drones, but. So that'll be coming out, and if should it ever break, it's easy for the students to repair it. So again, it's the initial investment, and then after that it's just maintenance of all your equipment.
And you kind of alluded to this, but to button it all up together, you have online lesson plans that go with it.
Yeah. So and again, right, as we're building everything out, lots of holes to plug, but. The intent is starting with free, initial instruction. So anyone that buys this drone, whether you're in a classroom or not, they'll be supporting content for how to put it together, some initial programming, that kind of thing. But then what we want to do down the line, another thing that we've run into with teachers is this concern that, if I bring something into the classroom, that I need to be an expert in it on day one. And we don't want that fear to be a barrier to entry. So providing lesson plans that the teacher can kind of go in and cherry pick, and creating an online environment where your students will have their own accounts and can go in and access those lesson plans. Initially for, something like a basic course, there's been a pretty big demand for, hey, I don't need a whole semester. I just need a few weeks. But then having that expand out into something like an advanced course that would be an entire semester of, drones, some of the underlying physical sciences and aeronautics, and then getting into the electronics and some of the more advanced content. And then even later, further stretch goal, what we're kind of calling enhancement courses, which would be, maybe industry specific, talking about drones and these kinds of technologies in agriculture, photography, cinematography, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, the plan is to build out that entire pipeline. And then we're already starting to have these conversations, but how to scale these technologies up for the college level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super smart that you're getting that feedback and you're designing this entire ecosystem around what the teachers and educators need. We've seen successful companies in the drone space do exactly that in parallel worlds. Like I can think of Brink, with their kind of laser focus on SWAT teams and building their entire drone and everything that they do around, that community and their needs. So that's why I know you guys are going to be successful, because you've taken that approach and that input to heart. And I know we're pre-launch here, and that launch is coming soon, but I'm excited to see it. And by the way, we do have a great question out there I want to ask you from Kristen regarding privacy. Is there anything shared through the app that educators should know about, right? So there are concerns with children being online, privacy concerns. How are you addressing that?
Yeah, so that is a fantastic question. To start, this app is isolated to your device. It doesn't connect to anything. We are going to have it so that you can access the store and the online learning content, but that is not in the app. That takes you basically through a portal to that content. And then even there, so if you create an account on the Argos Academy site, we're not sharing that information with anyone. We'd like to set it up so that specific to in the classroom environment, it would be teacher managed. So the teacher can go in and say, I've got a class with 10 students. I'm going to set up this class and I'm going to provision the 10 accounts for those students, and the teacher can monitor all of that activity. But yeah, none of this data, aside from that instance where it's controlled by the teacher, goes outside of the platform. We've talked about down the line, how fun it would be to, like for the simulator, could we turn that almost into an online game, right? Students in a classroom or students from across the world can hop in and race each other, or do things like that. There's a lot of complexity in that. And so right now, that's not something that, we want to focus on. We really want to focus on delivering the platform and enriching learning. And then some of the more fun bells and whistles we'll tackle later.
Well, frankly, I admire the fact that you already recognize there's some challenges with privacy and children online, because so many companies don't realize that. They kind of just forge ahead. I mean, even just to post a YouTube video up, right? You have to click, is this, for under 18? And if it is, like a whole host of things apply, right? So I was just doing a little research on the GDPR and some of the EU concerns, and they're super strict over there with data protection, privacy protection. So, this is an area, everybody, by the way, that is continuing to evolve also. And, I highly recommend you speak to an attorney if you have a business and you're going to be doing this, because you might as well do it right. It's worth the investment. And fun fact, next month, we actually have Jennifer Richter from Aiken Gump on the show. So stay tuned for that. She's going to be talking about building program success. But talking to an attorney is often one way that you ensure your whatever program you have is successful and legally compliant. So, this is maybe a good time to ask about some of the challenges you've encountered, because I think this kind of privacy piece online could be, considered a challenge. What other challenges have you encountered? Because this has been a journey for both of you. I think for Eric a little bit longer, than you, Aaron. But what have been some of the roadblocks? And then to end that kind of discussion on a positive note, how have you overcome those?
So I'll add one quick note about privacy online and children and everything. Both of us are parents. We both have daughters that we really care about, and we're trying to create this environment or this business that they can then use once they're in schools. They feel protected, they feel safe, and they feel comfortable thriving in this industry. So that's definitely something that we are concerned about, and we're considering as we move forward. But to get back to your question, some of the big challenges. So Argos Academy started as racing focused. So I wanted to, the micro drones, I wanted, because that's where I started, that's where I learned. But there's a lot of problems that go along with that. And I did a workshop in Wyoming early on, and just interacting with the teachers, seeing how they fly, and trying to, even at that point, smooth it out where anybody can just pick it up. I just found myself and be like, well, wait, I should tell you this. Oh, I should tell you this. Or, hey, look at this video. And I'm like, that's no place for an educator who's already overwhelmed with the amount of things that they have to do during the day. And then when they have to start their drone class, they can't just pick it up and run with it. They have to prep for it. And I'm like, I want to get rid of that. I want to make it as easy as possible. So, I mean, flight times, battery management, simplicity of the drone and its assembly, teaching kids how to solder in the classroom, comes with its own insurance problems and safety issues. And it's how to streamline that, force me to leave drone racing behind. So it's not, I wouldn't even say behind, because I would like to get back to it as an option for, kind of the deep dive modules, come back to it as like, hey, here's something cool you can do for competition in your classroom. But for now, it's like we had to change up the platform. We had to look at the curriculum. We had to splice it up from a one semester program to, just individual modules or lesson plans that teachers can pick and choose from. Having the online education platform. So we see a lot of other companies doing the workshops, going to train the trainer events, and that also takes away from educators' time that they could be doing from other things. So how do we make this whole process as easy as possible, and minimize the amount of time that we require?
No, I think that's key. And by the way, I want to mention you have a great connection here that Joseph Dunphy posted up, suggesting you connect with the Nation of Makers, Joel Leonard in Asheville, North Carolina. Now they do a drone racing league competition. I know that's probably phase 5 of your 5-phase plan, but probably something you may want to write down and circle back on this, Joel Leonard from Nation of Makers in Asheville, North Carolina. A lot of great stuff coming out of North Carolina.
Yeah, thank you so much for the recommendation. We'll check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, that's a great, another great segue. We're having a lot of these lately. Who are some of your key partners? I know you have gathered a handful of them, and you're certainly looking for more. So tell us about that.
Yeah, go ahead. So the folks that we've been working on the manufacturing with in India has been a fantastic team to work with. So really excited about that, and continue. And we've got some other stuff that's in the works, some of which we might be able to actually show here, and some of which we'll leave behind the curtain for now. Yeah, I mean, it's really the educator. Speaking to the question Eric answered about challenges, we've kind of gotten to the point where everything comes under a litmus test of, does this empower the educator, or does it distract them? Does this enhance the learning environment and enrich it, or does it distract from it? And if the answer is yes, this is doing something valuable for the educator and for the learning environment, then that's the right direction. No, this other thing, it's really cool and we want to do it, but we need to not go that way just yet, right? We're not there yet. And so in terms of partnerships, that's really the keys. We're looking to work directly with educators, and we've already got some folks, that we've been talking to, both in the, for the actual, classroom environment, but also, some of the after school programs and that kind of thing. But that's really what we're looking for, even moving forward, is we really just want to make sure that we intimately understand the needs of the educator, because that is our partner in all of this. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we talked about the different lesson plans, the support materials. You mentioned modular capabilities, and so I want to kind of talk a little bit about what are some of the modules that will be first released, and what are your plans for the future?
So, we've got one example here, really kind of two, actually. So the drone, the Raven one out of the box, is going to come with a camera. And so in the app, you'll be able to, like, as it's flying, take pictures or take video, but you also just be able to see through the camera as you're flying.
Oh my gosh. Also, my brain just went to like my Barbie dream house. Like it looks like a little Barbie camera or something.
Oh.
It goes right on the drone. Yep. It's so tiny. Wow, that's so cool.
Then we also have things like this. I don't know how well you can see it, but it is a grabber tool module.
Yeah.
That attaches to the bottom of the drone. And so there's some things, that we're developing that are like that, where we've kind of come up with the form factor and we've really tried to make it simple and to perform well with the flight characteristics of the drone, or if you reconfigure it into another kind of vehicle. But we're also going to have a suite of, different, and again, going through and making sure, China free and that kind of thing, but different types of sensors. So on the top of the drone, so you've got the main flight controller that has some, limited portability into it, but there's going to be an expansion board that can go into that called the X board. And that has tons of different ports that are all plug and play. Again, we don't want you have to worry about soldering in the classroom and the safety and all of that.
Right.
But all the different types of microcontroller sensors, that we're used to seeing out there, whether it's different types of emitters, different types of receivers, that kind of thing.
Temperature sensors, barometric sensors.
Yeah. But on the drone, it's got the accelerator or the accelerometer, the gyros, the magnetometer, all of that is built into it. So you're already getting that out of the box, plus the camera and whatnot. But then Eric's actually got something here to kind of show. So this is a larger form factor drone that we're working on called the Eagle One.
Ah, okay.
So, and it's got a larger payload capacity, for attaching more microcontroller sensors or doing different types of objectives with, if you're gonna, try and, pick up objects, that kind of thing. So we're really trying to kind of quickly expand out what's possible as you advance more down the pipeline of the education content that we're trying to build.
And a lot of this is driven by the partners from educators themselves. Being like, hey, we would like to see this. We would like to do that as we expand out.
Yeah, I just feel like there's such a large group out there, guys, that doesn't even know what they don't know. In other words, you just mentioned you could have.
That's us.
No, I'm thinking of your partners, like the science teacher that wants to teach about weather that doesn't think that I could use a drone and take these kids outside, with one of these barometers on it and do a really cool lesson on this and get them all fired up about weather. I just feel like, no pun intended, the sky is really the limit. And I think that's one of the key things is getting that word out and opening people's eyes, the educators themselves, that like, this isn't just for, the engineering class. This could be for the art class, with that little camera, the cool things that kids could come up with, just amazing, all the different things that I can just think of off the top of my head. But, but I'm deep in this space and we are getting close to time. I knew our time would fly together. We could talk for hours. This is so fun learning about what you guys are doing. I'm really excited for you. I can't wait to see, what the future brings. Everybody check out, argosacademy.io. That is their website. And stay tuned, signed up for their notifications so you'll know when these things are coming out. But as we close out, I want to give you both the last minute here to say anything we missed or any final closing comments for the audience.
Well, it's been quite a journey. I've been in it for 4 years now, trying to continue to evolve, trying to flex, trying to pivot a lot based on the feedback of what we're hearing. It's been a wonderful adventure. The people I've met, the people I've been able to partner with and grow with has been phenomenal. We've, a lot of people might be like, I've never heard of these guys before. I've always been operating kind of in the shadows, networking, talking, getting ideas. And this is our time to finally come out of the shadows and be like, let us show you what we've been working on the last 4 years. We're very excited. We're very proud of what we've done, and we're excited for what is to come.
Very cool. Aaron?
Yeah, just kind of beating on the same drum of, we're trying to continue to build our partnerships. And what I think is a really awesome opportunity, for all the educators out there is that, unlike a lot of other, companies that are out there that are on the market that already have a solution that they've built, and now you have to cater your classroom to that solution, we're trying to develop a solution for you. And these are the early days, and we want that partnership so you can come on in and you can help us understand what it is that you need. So that we can build an educator catered solution. Does that mean that we can solve all the problems? No. But that's part of what we're really excited about. It's continuing to learn what we don't already know, and trying to start from a form factor that's flexible enough that we can grow in that direction instead of being prescribed into something that we too far down the road to pivot now. That's. We're in the early days, and we recognize that it's going to have its challenges, but it's also got its opportunities.
Well, thank you both so much. Everybody out there, the Ravens will be flying and the Eagle will land soon behind that. So stay tuned for more. That's all she wrote, everybody. We are out here.